They just got the spray paint off the side of this patrol car door early this morning. The letters NS were spray painted on one of the sides. I'm standing on Martling Road where pieces of debris just like this one are just scattered throughout this whole area like this. Barricades and of course this white sign telling you the park is closed. While they were searching, a round of storms came through, but it didn't have much impact. Jason, last year at this time, I remember covering some pretty extensive storm damages. A storm ripped through this area the night before. It totally wreaked havoc on this entire setup. And now multiple agencies are investigating this, including the Marshall County Sheriff's Office and the SBI. Fitch and the juvenile, whose information isn't being released, panicked after the gun went off. They didn't call for help, and they took Richards' body to a rural part of Marshall County. I think it's safe to say, no, those of us freezing in the U.S. right now probably don't want to build a snowman or anything else that inherent Disney tune inquires that involves ice and snow. It's probably safe to say we're sick of this mess. Boston residents found a way to make it fun, maybe, and in Alabama, we're just not used to, well, this. But in Gunnersville in Marshall County, on the side of an ever-busy stretch of U.S. Highway 431, is a man who has claimed this spot every day this week. Meet Mr. Foster Ayers Jr.
I'm 76 years old. I love music. It makes me feel real good.
And even the near single-digit temperatures can't put a damper on it. Because to him, this weather, the ice, the wind chills, the whole 9 yards are perfectly ideal.
I function much better in the cold air. It just about kills me to get out here and dance in the heat and humidity.
But even in those apparent less than ideal conditions, if you ask around Gunnersville, everyone has passed by Mr. Ayers just about every day for years.
That's the only happiness I have. My music and my dancing. That's what gives me joy and happiness.
So even though here in Alabama we're waiting for warm weather like it's the Iron Bowl, Mr. Ayers is taking it in stride. Literally. Even when it feels like it's 17 degrees.
Yeah, I hope we get some snow.
In Gunnersville, I'm Laura Christmas, WHNT News 19.
He was always barefoot. He never wore his shoes.
Jessica Carlisle has hundreds of pictures of her family. The focus of many of them is her 5-year-old son, Branson, and that's a kid with a big heart.
He wanted all the kids to have toys in Africa. I mean, he was going to give away his own toys.
He'd go around the house collecting his own to give away, but last Sunday, his plan was overtaken by a bigger one. It happened before his family headed off to church.
He asked me to scratch his back. He said something had bit him.
The bite came from a brown recluse spider.
Whenever I went to pick up his shirt, the spider was laying beside his shirt.
They took Branson to a local care center, but the bite got worse.
The bite mark right there.
They went to the hospital, and throughout it all, Branson was his normal self. But after a while, he shut his eyes, and his heart stopped.
The only time they got a heartbeat back was the 17th time that they shocked him, and they had his heartbeat for like 4 seconds, and I had enough time to tell him I loved him.
Jessica and her family are going to carry out Branson's wish and donate his Christmas presents to kids who won't get any, because that's what Branson wanted to do.
I'm very blessed to have had him, and I'm not going to question it, because it was meant to be.
In Marshall County, I'm Laura Christmas, WHNT News 19. This story starts and ends with daffodils, of all things. But to tell it, we have to go back to the year Jimmy Carter was president.
My hero.
This is Ray and Sandra Paget. Their past and this hotels are what make up this story. They came to the little town of Mentone for a visit in 1980. Then their lives changed.
When I looked up, she just loomed on the horizon and captured my heart and captured my husband's pocketbook.
The couple bought the hotel, even though it was in ruins.
We kept it for 11 years. We worked every weekend.
Sandra planted daffodils right after they bought it. The bright, cheery flowers were a symbol of what was to come. Years later, Ray got a job that took the family overseas, so they sold it. The couple eventually moved back to Mentone and opened a business. Then Saturday, they watched the flames destroy the building they loved.
This has broken my heart that I'll never get to see her again.
Sandra and Ray went to look at what's left. And amid the gray ashes and twisted black metal were these bright little specks of yellow. The flowers Sandra had planted decades ago had survived.
And we walked around and he said, "Look at the daffodils. Don't that give you hope?"
In Mentone, I'm Laura Christmas, WHNT News 19.